on here to pick number 3 as we move quickly now through the first round. Detroit, the pick has been talked about as a movable pick. We're keeping an eye on whether or not this pick will, in fact, stay in Detroit. They've been open to trading. At least that's been the talk the last couple of weeks. They got to find better players no matter what. Second most yards allowed in the league, 400 yards. Most pass yards allowed, fewest sacks, tied for last in interceptions. Not good, Jarrett. Seemingly, they're always high in the first round when it comes to drafting. Matthew Stafford at quarterback continues, though, to have a nice statistical career. Last year, obviously, it was a little bit of a struggle. He injured his back there. In games where Stafford did not play, Jarrett, they went 0-8. Seems like they're so dependent on him. How do they take the load off his shoulders?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, as a guy sitting here that used to run the rock and maybe take a little pressure off the quarterback, they got to find a capable running back. Kerryon Johnson, we know him. Injuries have always hurt his career since he's been with the Lions. So they got to find a bell cow and a guy that can run the football. To me, that takes a lot of pressure off of Matthew Stafford and doesn't make him have to sling the ball around. But also, they need more help. You were just talking about it. On the defensive side of the ball, they got to find a way to get to the quarterback. So edge rusher is definitely there. The cornerback position, they have to figure that out. That's a need. And offensive line, I don't think you can go wrong with trying to put more bodies on that offensive line.
Certainly can't. Let's talk more about the draft needs for the Lions. Good friend of ours from Wood TV, the great Jack Doles, joins us here to talk about Detroit's options at number 3. We're just talking, Jack, about how rough the defense was. Is that a more pressing moment, a more pressing need at this moment than trying to give Stafford some more resources on the offense?
Yeah, absolutely, Jared. They have to address defense right now. As you mentioned with some of those stats, they had the worst passing defense in the NFL last season, and they went ahead and traded Darius Slay to the Philadelphia Eagles. So Jeffrey Okudah makes a lot of sense right here, but the big talk for the Lions has been, do they trade, move down? There's 3 guys the Lions want here. Okudah, they also would like... picks coming in, so hang on one second.
well, more so, Jack, and that we'll get to the pick here in a second. I just wanted to go over that another receiver obviously couldn't hurt, but maybe it's such a deep receiver draft, maybe they get it in round 2, round 3, and elsewhere.
Yeah, they've got a decent number of picks. They did just take Jeffrey Okudah, an Ohio State cornerback, and cornerback is really the position they needed to solidify here, especially after getting rid of Darius Slay, who is a 3-time Pro Bowler and really one of the only Pro Bowlers on this roster outside of Matt Stafford. Great player, but they just did not play well against the defense. It mostly starts on that front 7 there. The Lions did not put any pressure on the quarterback, so I thought maybe they go in a different direction here. But cornerback definitely hits a spot. And you can tell me more about Okudah because you saw him on a regular basis. How happy do you think the Lions will be to have him in their secondary?
I think this is an incredibly fortuitous pick for the Detroit Lions, because Jeffrey Okudah has #1 talent. This guy is an extraordinary athlete, not just from a speed standpoint, but from a technique standpoint. As you see, first-team All-American this past year. Now, he only had 3 picks. Do not let that deceive you. Teams were terrified to throw at Jeffrey Okudah last year, and as you can see, his 40-yard dash time is outstanding. He can run with anybody. So let's go back around the horde here, get everybody's thoughts on this pick. Jarrett, is this the right pick for the Lions at number 3?
Yeah, Jay, first I want to say what's up to Jack Doles. That's my guy. I really do. I like Okudah. I think his skill set and what he's able to do, he can cover all receiver sizes. And I love the fact of his hips and being able to shift those and get around. He's got great feet. And I think what comes with it is just how hard he works. And if you got a chance to see him and probably know him and talk with him, he is one of those guys that you want to invest your money in because he's just a good kid. He works hard, and I think that's what's going to be great. In the Motor City, they're going to have an opportunity to have a guy that is going to work hard, and when it comes to press man, that's what you love seeing. That's why quarterbacks were not throwing his direction, because they knew he was locked down on their side.
And Jack, Ohio State continues to plump its resume, if you will, as DBU. They continue to turn out first-round defensive backs year after year. Now let's move on from pick round 1 for Detroit, Jack. What else do they have to turn this thing around?
They still need more on defense. I would not be surprised if in this second round the Lions go after a defensive lineman. There's still some pretty good ones in this draft. We'll see what's there. Wouldn't be shocked if they made another move here. He is very open, Bob Quinn is, to trading. And Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia are on one of the hotter seats in the National Football League, Jared. I would say this was a seat that would make Satan sweat. They've already been told by Martha Ford that they have to contend this year. So if they don't contend to make the playoffs and make a big jump from that 3 wins they had last year, I think we're going to see yet another leadership change in Detroit. Quinn made kind of a risky move when he got rid of Jim Caldwell after a 9-win season, and they were just on that cusp. And he thought maybe he could step in and just take him to that next level, but they've gone backward here. He's done a pretty good job of drafting. We talked to Mike O'Hara from DetroitLions.com earlier this week, Jared, and he said all these 5th and 6th and 7th round picks that he's made, only 3 are not on this roster, so he's built depth to this roster. There's just not enough frontline talent, or at least the talent they've had hasn't stayed healthy or stayed on the field. Big difference when Matt Stafford wasn't on that field last year. Jared, you know, we talked a little bit about, do they add some more offense? Yeah, they'll address that. Their defensive needs are greater. Last year they went with Hawkinson, T.J. Hawkinson with their first pick, the 8th in the draft. Grabbed a tight end from Iowa. Good start, but a questionable year. That move was made partly to help that running game. Yes, Jared Payton had hit that on the head there. They need another running back to help carry on Johnson. Johnson has not stayed healthy. You know, they've added fullbacks, they've added offensive linemen high in the draft the last couple of years, but the running game still hasn't been fixed. They have been pining for a running back in Detroit since Barry Sanders retired. They've yet to fix that.
Well, Jack, appreciate your insight. Thanks very much for joining us tonight. And speaking of a team that has to really turn it around, pick number 4.